Good evening. I am calling to order this June 11th, 2025 5-on-5 meeting between the Livingston Board of Education and the Livingston Town Council. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by amendment to notice approved at the board's reorganization meeting on January 2nd, 2025, and posted at the Board of Education office and communicated to the Star Ledger, West Essex Tribune, Tappan to Livingston, and the Livingston Township Clerk.
In accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meeting Law PL 1975C.231, adequate notice of a joint meeting with the Livingston Township Council and the Livingston Board of Education on Wednesday, June 11, 2025 at 7 p.m. at the Mount Pleasant Middle School Auditorium, 11 Broadlawn Drive, Livingston, New Jersey, has been provided. Specifically, the 48-hour notice was emailed to the West Essex Tribune, to Tappan to Livingston, and the Star Ledger on Monday, June 9, 2025. We'll do the pledge.
Can we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Can I have the board roll call, please?
Mrs. Charles?
Present.
Mr. Cohen?
Here.
Mrs. Gong?
Present.
Mrs. Kemka?
Here.
And Mrs. Yelisevich?
Here.
Thank you. Before Barry reads the roll, I just want to point of notice that our clerk, Carolyn Mizuko, is not here today. Her and her staff got in yesterday morning at 5 a.m. and left last night close to 10 p.m. Did a great job handling the elections throughout the town of Livingston, the primary election, and so we decided to give her the evening off. So, Barry, will you please read the roll?
Mayor Meinhardt.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Klein.
Here.
Councilman Anthony.
Here.
Councilman Batani.
Here.
Councilman Vieira.
Present.
Okay, I think we're all here.
Excellent. Now that we're all here, let's start with the first item on the agenda, which are ordinances, the parking ordinance and the pilot resolution. So this is an opportunity for the board to acknowledge our appreciation for passing both of those. I think a couple weeks ago now at your meeting. It is the direct result of our collaboration through our liaison committees that we were able to come to an understanding of what the district's needs were, especially on the parking ordinance, and then come to an understanding of how we can best work together through pilots and the potential impact of development in Livingston on Livingston Public Schools. So we as a board and on behalf of the board just wanted to express our gratitude to the town council and to the township for passing both of those.
Thank you very much. I just want to, first of all, thank you for your nice words, but I just want to stress the importance of these two-on-two liaison meetings that do take place every 4 to 5 weeks. I think a lot gets done, a lot gets discussed, and as you had said so rightfully, that this was one of the things that came out of it. Very happy that it worked so well together, so thank you. I think our next thing on the agenda is the development update. Barry?
Yeah, so just for the benefit of the public, everyone's aware that as a result of the affordable housing litigation and our obligation to comply with that, the Township Council has approved a number of development projects. We certainly recognize and appreciate the potential impact on the Board of Education and want to keep the board as informed and up to date as possible with the best information we have available. So we have, I provided an updated spreadsheet to the board, identifying all the projects that are currently in the hopper in terms of where they've been approved, if the zoning's been approved, if they've gotten planning board approval, if they've applied for building permits, if we have information on when their certificate of occupancy. It included projections, school-age children projections based on the recent Rutgers study. Dr. Fishbein was kind enough to provide me with some updated actual data based on existing developments in the community and how many school children they generate. So we're inputting that to compare that to the Rutgers study. Previously, we had done that, and there certainly was an indication that Livingston generated more school kids than necessarily the Rutgers study, not surprisingly based on the quality of the community, quality of the education. But again, we're committed to continuing to keep the board informed, provide the most current information that we have, and work with the board in any way we can.
Thank you very much, Barry. Any questions?
Thank you, Barry. Any questions from the board? Seeing none, I'll just express on behalf of the board our gratitude. Obviously, you know how important the schools are in Livingston, and obviously new development is going to have an impact. It is, recent developments are having an impact on our enrollments. And so that constant line of communication is critical as we are entering into the demographic study in particular, because that is a core input. So we just, we truly appreciate that open line of communication and the transparency by which you share all the details of what's to come.
Great, thank you. Was a demographic study update?
Yeah, so before we move to the demographic study, I am going to just make a slight change to the agenda. We're going to combine items 3 and 5 because they work together regarding the demographic study and the facility plan update. So we're going to cover those together. Dr. Fishbein?
Yep. I wish I had more to add here, but we did the RFP for the demographic study, and we chose one and engaged with that company. Right now, we're in the queue. There's not a lot of demographers in New Jersey at this point, so it's critical that we have an understanding of what the projections will be in order to come up with a detailed plan. While we are discussing the options provided by the Long Range Facility Committee that worked last year, we don't have a definitive plan, and I think the work that you do, Barry, will help because we'll share that with the demographer.
Any questions regarding the demographic study and its feeding into our facility plan?
On the facility plan, I mean, I'm sure everyone on the council and certainly everyone on the Board of Ed gets questions about, what facilities, what a plan could look like. Obviously, you just said that the demographers don't grow on trees, and you guys are in line waiting to use someone on that front. What's when the demographer? I guess I would just ask a timetable if you think like once you finally have someone who's able to do the work for you. How long does that work take? And then at what point do you think a long-term facilities plan might be released after that? Like how long does this process, expect to take?
I don't have an inaccurate number for you. It's, when he's done with his work that it's in the queue, he hasn't even started reaching out to the town to get information or from us at this point. I would say anywhere from a month to 2 months of work.
But
The month to 2 months represents what?
Of him doing the work to get us the final product.
In other words, once he's able to get to the work, then you expect 1 to 2 months for the work. And then after that, how long does it take to get a facilities plan together, do we think? Or are there plans in place and it just depends on what the numbers are, then you slot it in?
There's concepts in place.
I think the bottom line is we're committed to moving in earnest. We understand the needs of the community, and we're not looking to sit on that information, but we are also being thoughtful about it. This is obviously a significant ask potentially of the community, and we want to be thoughtful about it. Any other questions from the town council? Seeing none, Dr. Fishbein, do we have an enrollment update?
I'll wait till you get it. Okay, so this is accurate as of Monday. We put numbers into this chart. And you can see in the first chart in the upper left-hand corner how much we've grown since the start of the school year, about 89 students from September. And then the 2 charts below that, 2 tables, are the historic enrollment to present day, and then what the 2021 demographic study said. So you can see we're off about 140 students or so from the demographic study. And then I know at our first meeting, there was questions about kindergarten enrollment. So in the upper right-hand corner, you see the enrollment for elementary schools as of, as I said, on Monday, today's Wednesday, and then what we currently have in kindergarten. So there are people in the queue to sign up for kindergarten. And you can see some of that in the development table on the lower right-hand corner. All right. So as I shared with Barry, this table, you can see the number of students that we have in those developments. The number of units is off on this table. Not sure why, but the reason why I sent it, and I believe that that column was accurate when I sent it, the number of units compared to the number of units in projected developments show that we get more students than, as Barry said, the Rutgers study.
Any questions regarding enrollment? Yes, sir.
Just one question about the kindergarten enrollment. Can you just explain when the registration happens and through when it happens so we get a sense of the comparison that you're making here?
Well, it starts in February, okay, and runs through the first day of school, really. You know, we say May 15th is a cutoff because we make certain sectioning decisions by then. But you're looking at 25, 26 present day enrollment. Those students who are enrolled completed all their paperwork and have been placed in a school, compared to the 24, 25 highlighted in yellow. Those are current class enrollments, school enrollments as of Monday.
I have a question. So, and I'm not sure whether this is true or not, but I heard that 2007 there was a minor baby boom, whereas now these children and young adults are starting to graduate out of the school system. Is that something that you heard or incorporated into any plans?
Well, birth rates are cyclical. They usually go in like a 15 to 17 year cycle. So, you know, you'll see dips in school enrollment over periods of time, long periods of time, and then grow out of those. As you can see, when you look at the historical data on the left-hand side, since 12-13, we've grown a little under 700 students.
I have a question. So basically on the trend side, so if we see the left-hand side where there is a demographic study and there is a historical enrollment, as you mentioned, 12, 13, we were at 5,783, peaking, gradually increasing, some dips in the middle somewhere, but majority of the time going up. But 24, 25 seems to be the high number, which is 6,428. Now, from that point on, the demographic study says we're gonna drop and will only be somewhere between 22, 23 and 22, 24 numbers, right? 22, 23 and 23, 24 numbers at the end of 26, 27 year. So essentially, is that the right reading? Or
No.
So how do you
now,
read this?
if you look at that, all right, so start at 21, 22, all right? Because that's the start of the demographic study. We were 6,122, correct? See that? All right.
Yes.
The next year, according to the demographic study, we're supposed to be 6,211, but we were really 6,277. So, you know, I tend to look at the demographic studies as a snapshot in time.
Right.
Because,
So essentially, the message is we are beating the demographic study by a few numbers.
Yep.
Every year.
And that's why we're repeating it, because this one was obviously out of date from the moment we got it.
But it is a requirement that we have a current demographic study when we submit to the state for any debt service we may receive.
So is there a requirement to follow a certain method, a consistent method, or can we adjust the method to be more closer to what happens every time?
Well, one of the reasons why, I shared the information about the high-density housing was so that Barry can compare it to the spreadsheets he shared.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? So we're committed to continuing to provide you these updates on the enrollment, obviously, so for understanding and certainly to help provide an understanding of, especially as we look at new developments, where those students and how many students are coming from those developments.
All right, I think the next thing on there is the Monmouth Court, correct?
Yes.
All right, Barry, you want to give a little update, please?
Yeah, so for anyone who's not aware of the issue, the Monmouth Court building was originally a Board of Education building. Many years ago, the Board of Ed apparently didn't need it, conveyed it to the town for $1. The town used it for some recreational facilities. In more recent years, the Board of Ed retook possession of the second floor and invested money to improve it. The town continued to use the lower floor for some recreational activities. As the Board of Ed's space needs have increased, in part due to these enrollment numbers that we just read, the board approached the town council about the possibility of getting back possession of the full Monmouth Court building. The Township Council being cooperative and wanting to work with the Board of Ed. We've discussed it and reached an understanding that the township would convey back the entire building, and the Board of Ed would cooperate with us in relocating some of our educational or our recreational uses to potentially some of their facilities, and we can get some in our facilities. In order to do it, we did learn that the Monmouth Court, the entire property, was listed on the township's recreation open space inventory, the ROSI, which put certain restrictions on it. So we did have to go through some administrative hoops to get the Green Acres to understand, and we got their permission to carve off the school building, and we subsequently had a surveyor prepare a subdivision map. That's been done. The land use administrator is scheduling a minor subdivision committee hearing, at which point we will finalize a subdivision to carve off the court while the fields will stay on the Rossi, at which point we can have a closing and convey the building back to the Board of Ed. So I would expect that to be within the next month or so.
You just answered my question.
I would just say that $1 from Monmouth Court, the mayor lost it. He says he never got it, but we think he lost it, and we might have to get another $1 for that.
I will gladly drop off a crisp George Washington.
Since the mayor and the Board of Ed president live within walking distance of each other, we can meet halfway in between our homes. How's that?
It
Yes.
does not have to be a dollar bill as well. 4 quarters will do too, right? Just on a quick question on that. So Barry, just to reiterate that, so we are saying within a month's time, the Monmouth Court will be ready for Board of Education to take over. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think certainly my understanding from talking to Jackie was that within a month she'll have the minor subdivision committee, site plan subdivision committee will meet, approve the subdivision. Mr. Candler will work with the board's attorney to have a mini closing. There's not any money changing hands, but you still have a closing where we execute a deed. There will have to be maybe an ordinance by the council authorizing it. Yeah. So that'll, the final closing and deed transfer is probably 2 or 3 months out, but the approval and the subdivision should be complete within the month. And certainly we're going to work with the board for whatever their plans are. Who actually is on the deed doesn't really matter at this point once it's underway.
And it's a little bit early to ask, but maybe there are plans already in place to how to use Monmouth Court, and how do you envision to sort of design it for school use?
We currently use it as an alternative high school. We'll
And
continue
you want
to
to
use
continue
it that.
using that?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And just a point. That was inclusive of the field. And so given that the field is not part of this, we're looking at possibly 50 to 60 cents going back your way, okay?
Yeah, such a tough negotiator this evening. Wow, really very difficult. All right, moving on. Shared services, trees, fields, camps, and gyms. All right, did you want to talk about it, or?
Well, certainly from the town's perspective, I can speak to the fact we enjoy a great relationship with the Board of Education. A lot of, I think, and it's not universal. You would think it would be, but I've certainly been in other towns where the relationship is not as productive and cooperative as a relationship here. You would hope that most towns recognize it's all coming out of the same taxpayers' dollars. So if we can help each other out based on what we have and what resources we have available, it benefits ultimately the community, and that's very much true here in Livingston. The Board of Ed is very gracious and accommodating and allow us to use their fields for our athletic programs, their gyms for our athletic programs, fields and gyms and indoor spaces for summer camps and a variety of things. In turn, the township and our DPW provides maintenance of those fields, cuts the fields, plows and salts their parking lots. So it's a great collaborative effort. Ultimately, I think saving the taxpayers' dollars than if they had to go buy their own mowing equipment or if we had to go build our own gyms and things. So it's great. One of the more recent one is the board expressed an interest in planting some additional trees in front of some of their properties. The township has a tree trust fund that we can use to purchase trees. So we've offered to, and we'll collaborate with them to place those trees. It's just overall, I think, a great and a good relationship, and everybody works so well together, and it's good to see. And again, it's not always the case in every town I've been in. So.
I'll just say one more thing. One of the things that on here are the camps. Everybody knows that the town runs a very large and successful summer camp program. All of those take place on Board of Education property. And so we thank the Board of Education for that as well, because without that, it doesn't work. And so it's a big, I know it's enjoyable by many, many kids who live in town.
Well, thank you for the kind words, and thank you for everything you do to support our students. I just have a question regarding the fields. How frequently are the fields evaluated for how the playing condition and everything is on it?
I couldn't speak, but I can certainly find out and get back to you if there's a regular sort of inspection program. Obviously, to the extent there's concerns expressed, we would immediately look to those. I know I recently heard a few and have already dispatched people to go look. But I don't want to misspeak. They may have a regular program to check them, but I don't know, and I can certainly find out.
Thank you.
No, I'm just saying, I don't think any more comments on that.
I was just going to thank you for the words. It is a very productive relationship. I really like our latest endeavor, which is the trees. Beautifying our properties, beautifying the town, and being able to do it without incurring any additional taxpayer impact, I think is such a great way for us to partner and show the progress that we're trying to improve the community. So we thank you for that. So our last agenda item is an invitation to partner in planning for the 250th USA anniversary. For those that don't know, Mayor Meinhardt was here for the first one.
And you were there for the second.
And so we have a few members of the administration here.
We do. So we have Natalie Topilko and Dawn Feely, Supervisor of Social Studies and the Director of 712 Curriculum, and Mark Stern was able to get here. Thank you. They're going to share a few ideas that we have. We're heavily into the planning of this great celebration of our country. Just a quick story. I was sharing my experience of the 200th anniversary with the board and some administrators, and I didn't think what I was saying was funny until people said, I wasn't here. I was two. I don't remember. So everyone here will remember the 250th.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. We're so excited to tell you a little bit about what we're doing and to invite you to work with us as we plan for this event. So on July 4th, 2026, our nation will commemorate and celebrate the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. The journey toward this historic milestone is an opportunity to pause and reflect on our nation's past, honor the contributions of all Americans, and look ahead towards the future we want to create for the next generation and beyond. And so with that in mind, we, my colleague Dawn, who is trying to avoid the microphone, but I will invite her to stand with me, we've been planning a lot of activities, and we wanted to share some of them with you and to see whether in a town-wide, community-wide way, we might be able to engage in those activities together. Probably the centerpiece of what we are trying to do was inspired by a book the two of us read some years ago by Dan Rather called What Unites Us. And that esteemed journalist in that book was talking about the characteristics that unite Americans, a striving for freedom, a desire for community, this spirit of exploration, responsibility towards the environment and to public education and to service, and the ideas of character, audacity, being steady, and having courage. And as we started to talk about that book again, how inspirational it was to us at the time, we started to really hone in on this idea of connecting the present day with the past, and then also perhaps connecting Livingston with other towns called Livingston across the country, and really giving our students, our children, an opportunity to feel themselves part of a larger community in the United States and to celebrate what makes our country so special. So the centerpiece of the program is this project that we're undertaking called America's 250th Ambassadors. Right now we have over 120 students who have signed up. They are going to be trained in conducting oral history interviews, and their task will be to meet someone like Dr. Fishbein, perhaps, maybe some of you, maybe you know people, who remember the celebration of the bicentennial in 1976. And to conduct an oral history interview with them in sort of the tradition of Studs Terkel, maybe StoryCorps if you're a listener of NPR, capturing these interviews, these moments in the lives of ordinary Americans. How do they come up with the tapestry that makes our country? And capturing that so that we can have a time capsule that perhaps in another 50 years, Livingston will be able to unearth and to revisit what it was like in 2026. So if you know someone, if you have a community member, if you have a neighbor, or if you yourself would like to participate, we would love it if you would join us in this project. The other piece that we're going to do are a series of interdisciplinary talks. We have Lancer Time on Wednesdays in the high school, and it's an opportunity for us over the course of the year to do talks in the spirit of like a TED Talk to students who want to spend some time learning more about these themes and these ideas that kind of make us special as Americans. And so again, we would invite you, if you've been yearning to tell your story to someone on a stage and to consider how your story intersects with one of these themes, we would be thrilled if you would join us for one of those talks. We're going to host a logo contest where students from across the district will be asked to create a logo for the year. That logo will eventually find its way onto our website. Perhaps we could ask the town if they might be interested in using that logo on their website for the year. And most recently, we found out there are people connected to a pyrotechnics company who work in our high school. They're interested in doing some kind of lessons for our kids about how fireworks function and then possibly doing a show. We have phys ed teachers who want to do a freedom run, some kind of a 5K or something similar. So perhaps the township will allow us to run through Livingston for such a run. And we've been collaborating with the Livingston Historical Society to research members of the Livingston community way back in the Revolution who fought in the war or who were citizens of, kind of the colonies before the United States even existed, and to find out who were the people in our neighborhood and what stories do they have to tell. So thank you for listening to our pitch. We hope that we can look forward to working together with you for a true town-wide celebration so that our students really can emerge from this with a sense of pride in their own community and a sense of pride as Americans as well. Thank you.
So thank you very much. It's a great, we did not know what was coming from workshop item number 8 on this, but that was wonderful. I'm sure we speak for everybody on the council that we'd all love to help and participate in however we can. I know we should probably we have a July 4th committee, but we also should maybe just put together a 250th committee as well in addition to that. I'm sure we could get that as well. I'll let Deputy Mayor talk about the one item he just whispered about the kids, because I know you did that. But before we do, I just want to say the one thing that you mentioned, which I wrote down, is all of us were present at the 75th anniversary time capsule that was buried at Hillside, or that was going to be buried at Hillside School in the rain on Thursday, I think it was, or I forgot what day it was this week already, Monday. I'm sorry, the weeks just fly by. And I thought that was really neat. I thought that was really neat, some of the stuff that was being put in that capsule. So I look forward to, participating and figuring out where that capsule should go, here in Livingston that, had stuff from 2026, right? So I'm sure we will be in touch and work collaboratively, but I know Deputy Mayor had a comment as well.
I was just going to say, so much fun stuff you guys talked about, and I know this council will be very excited to work with you on this. The first thing I thought of when you were talking is that I love that it's coming from the kids, right? So it's just, I feel like nothing this council should do should stop the kids from taking the lead on this. I just think it feels better when it's coming from the kids, this kind of optimism and excitement for the future and looking back at the past. It feels really good to hear that.
And just an idea for what it's worth, if the council would be open to having students on the July 4th committee, I think that would be a great cross-collaboration opportunity, which, I mean, I'm not volunteering anybody certainly, but that could be an opportunity to involve the kids in that and bring the 250th celebration into what is an amazing tradition in Livingston as it already sits.
Great. I think
I was about to say that. I was about to say that I'm a liaison from council perspective, along with Councilman Vieira on July 4th committee. There's a whole day of programming that happens. This year, I'm going to shamelessly put a plug here. 249th anniversary, we are having musical fireworks in preparation for 250th. So this is just to see that how everything it's now gearing towards 250. To Mr. President's point of view that, have students in that committee, fabulous. Please reach out to either of us. We would love to have that collaboration, but please work with that committee. That way, if you are focused on July 4th programming on itself, on that day, a lot of cross traffic can be navigated accordingly. So it's a brilliant idea. Again, great job and wonderful presentation.
Thank you. Any other comments on?
I just want to mention that this council has already approved, I believe it's an ordinance, to allow students on our committee. So that's already set. So we just need to get the volunteers.
Great.
Thank you. Was not aware of that.
Any other comments from the council side? No.
Any comments from the board side?
My only comment is I joined Dr. Fishbein. I remember being in high school for the bicentennial. So when I saw this on there, it made me feel old, but.
Thank you very much.
So I actually think that the town manager and the superintendent, Russ, I think Russ, the town manager, and the superintendent should be the first 3 people on the committee. There you go. Yeah.
I was one.
Hi. Do I have to give any information or?
Just name your name and if you live and where do you what town you live in?
Tara Heiderman. Hi. 23 Cedar Gate Drive. We have a group of parents have been speaking. First of all, thank you for meeting together. It's super helpful to all the Livingston families to have you guys coordinating. We have brought up a group of parents that the pickup situation at Heritage is a mess. And it has been asked, we've asked Dr. Fishbein, and this place seems to be the best opportunity for it because it's Heritage is a town road, if I'm correct, and school property, so it sort of merges. The request is to see if the road or Foxcroft can be made similar to Broadlawn and a one-way street at Pickup. There are, the cars are ridiculously big. As the years go by, they seem to get bigger. And the children, the students with, underdeveloped prefrontal cortexes seem to be fine with jumping into the middle of the street to get in a car, and a parent is happy if their kid can get in and they can be on their way. And when it rains, or generally there's a lot going on, it's so unsafe. We watch near misses at least once a week. Parents line up to do pickup coming from North Hillside in that direction and double park on the side of the road so that it makes it, and then they can park on the side of the school so that it makes it a one-lane road to work through. My question is, or my proposal to you would be to look into the possibility of making Foxcroft one way, the same way that Broadlawn is, so that the traffic all is moving in one direction and makes it a little bit safer. So thank you.
Thank you.
Can we, yeah, they don't like.
Good night. Just want to say I want to thank everybody that's on the board tonight. I know it's hard to serve the public, but we appreciate what you do. I have two questions. Aquinas School,
Wait, I'm sorry,
unfortunately.
Mike, we just need your name.
Mike Anderson. Aquinas School, unfortunately, is closing. Is there any consideration taking over that property to build more schools there, maybe the high school, because in the high school or the elementary schools?
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Aquinas.
Oh, the Aquinas schools.
So I don't know if you're ready to answer that question, but it's something to consider.
Well, obviously, both the Board of Ed and the township are aware that the school is closing. Some conversation's been had with the diocese and the church. Church is not inclined at this point to sell the property. They are looking at potentially leasing the property, so we're exploring whether there's a solution, obviously, between the parking and the facilities and the proximity to the high school and all the township facilities. It makes logical sense, but we're definitely exploring it.
Thank you. And the second question is about the fields. I have a lot of parents that ask about the grass fields at the schools. We do appreciate using them, but I've been here for 14 years and the fields have not gotten better. They've only gotten worse. A lot of divots, a lot of holes. I mean, I know the town tries to do what they can, but I mean, we have to invest some money into using our fields. You have over 1,000 kids playing on these fields, and somebody eventually is going to get injured from our town or somebody else's town. And I know there's other organizations that's willing to have a conversation with the Board of Ed or the town on how we can improve these fields, but it is a concern for parents. I mean, I don't know if they have been reaching out to anybody on the stage, but they have been reaching out to different clubs expressing their concerns. So I'm bringing that forward. Hopefully we can have a conversation on how do we improve our fields. I mean, you go to other towns, smaller than ours, and their fields are a lot better. And that's, not a nice thing to say. I take pride in Livingston. I want Livingston to be the best, but to be the best, you have to invest in it. So hopefully we can find a way to do that. And if you guys want to have a conversation with the Livingston Soccer Club, we're more than willing to do that. I'm sure there's other clubs that's willing to have a conversation as well. All right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Anastasia Larkin. I live in Livingston. I'm very nervous at public speaking, so I'm probably going to shake through this. I haven't really gotten involved or listened much with the town being a working parent, but something I have picked up on in this meeting and also just personally as a parent is that we seem to be growing very, very quickly. The schools seem to be busting at the seams. Now 2 years in a row, we've either had emails about modular units or kids going to different schools. Similarly, we're in a lot of the sports programs. They also seem to be busting at the seams and struggling with facilities. I know we're doing the Livingston Mall survey. That to me seems like a bit of a missed opportunity. But I guess, is there a master plan? Like, have we looked at what we're going to do? I've been brought up with the mentality that the one thing you can't get more of is space. You can build up, but you can't get more land. And if we're growing so quickly, and I have emails from the school, I have emails from the town saying that we're busting at the seams in our programs. Is there any forethought for where we are going to be able to find more space before we back ourselves into a corner? Like, I know there's, especially for kids in schools, there's probably certain things you want aesthetically and for the young children to have. But is there, and I'm a licensed engineer, and something we do in a lot of our projects is we look forward and try and figure out what we're going to need in the years coming and try to figure out where we're going to put it. Is there a master plan in place? Or, because, I mean, there's developments popping up everywhere. And one of my fears is that we are talking about putting in more retail because it will bring the value of our properties up, except we have empty retail spaces sitting on Route 10. We've got it sitting on Northfield. We've got it sitting in the mall. So if we put in more retail without putting in something to bring people to that space, aren't we just putting ourselves in another position to have more empty retail? We seem to have a problem holding onto it. So is there any, I guess it's a double-pronged, we seem to be getting a lot of development and getting people in, but not having the conversation about what happens with the infrastructure when we bring all these people in and we don't have anywhere to put them.
So, so last year, the board had a long-range facility committee that worked. And as we said in the beginning of the meeting, we're having another demographic study conducted to develop a plan for expanding the schools.
Okay. Yeah, because I know, like, for us, even in our neighborhood, a lot of like the older couples are starting to downsize and move out. And even without the new developments, the developers are flipping every house on the block, and it's all young families coming in. So like we have a whole bunch more kids on our block, and it's, going to become a problem.
Yep.
Thank you.
I just want to comment for 1 second from the retail side of your question. We do surveys quite often, especially in coordination with our bid and Beth Littman, who runs it. We had a presentation a few weeks ago, actually. Just interestingly enough, we are at a 96% occupancy rate for retail across the town of Livingston. So I know it might look like there are some here or there, but it's actually at a 96% rate of occupancy. So for a town like that, it's actually not that large. And what's happening is that as these developments are going to be coming online, that we do hope that some of these retail will get filled up, because as you build them, they will come scenario. And that's where we're kind of hoping that that's what kind of brings life to the downtown. And obviously, Livingston does not have a quote-unquote downtown. We don't have a train line that a lot of communities do, that people generate around the train lines. So that's one of the things that we work on from our side, trying to figure out how to generate that look and that idea of getting people to come to the downtown and making it a walking type of accessible town.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the foot traffic you get is actually probably from the middle school and the high schoolers. The bike gangs of Livingston in the summer, the kids are the ones that kind of flock to a lot of the town centers, so.
I'm sorry, I couldn't, the microphone's really bad, so I just couldn't hear you. I apologize.
Oh, no, it would help if I talked into it, minor details. I'm shaking. I was going to say, yeah, I see a lot of that. I think there's been certain properties that in the 10 years that I've lived here have been empty the entire time we've been here. But I do think you get a lot of foot traffic from like middle school and high schoolers in the summer. There's a lot of the kids hanging out down by the town center. Like there's biker gangs of Livingston that go up and down. So I do see that. It just feels like I was recently in Sydney and they're putting in a lot of developments, but they put things like, they'll put a field and then they'll put a cafe, and it creates foot traffic where people come out to utilize that space. Like if you put a playground and a cafe, trying to like connect them so that it's not just one thing that people are coming out for. It's just an
Makes perfect-
observation.
Makes perfect sense in certain states that have that type of cityscape use, and unfortunately, Livingston has certain, but not a lot of that kind of use. But it certainly makes sense as well.
Yeah.
I agree.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Are there any other comments in the room?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
In favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.